But it used to be nice, handmade Cuban cigars right here in Tampa, Florida. Same with, well, Arturo Fuente used to be Tampa handmade. All the J.C. Newman cigars used to be Tampa handmade cigars. We had the world's biggest cigar industry here, and we still do as long as we stay open and continue to manufacture cigars. And that's the Newman's claim to fame. You know, what kept us here for so much longer than everybody else is there were other Newmans in the picture at one point in time. There were like 16 other Newman relatives, and Bobby and Eric and their dad Stanford, they had to buy those guys out. And whenever they bought one out, it increased the shares of the company for the remaining Newmans. So eventually, after they bought them out, they had a massive amount of leveraged debt against the building that kept them firmly planted in Tampa, long past all their colleagues in the industry, you know. But once the dust cleared and once the Newmans paid off all that debt, they realized they had something special here that nobody else had, a working American cigar factory that made tens of millions of cigars every single year. So last man at the poker table gets all the chips. That's who we are. And now we can do whatever we want. Production tours, hand-rolling classes, farm tours, and production tours all at once. And that's what we want to offer to people. So it's kind of catapulted our cigar company into a whole new dimension as far as hospitality. And that's what you're all here to enjoy today. But, right, returning to our roots, our company was started by Drew's great-grandfather. You saw Drew upstairs. Very dapper-looking gentleman, posed like a Freemason right there, you know. But he started our cigar company May 5th, 1895, and the rest is history. We're still owned by his family. We're still making the same brands that he made back in the 1920s or 30s or what have you, like Decision and Brickhouse. And we're still operating a great American cigar factory. So if it wasn't for that guy's hard immigrant mindset, that stubbornness to succeed and build this company, we wouldn't be here, I wouldn't have a job, and you wouldn't be walking around a cigar factory today. So, you know, thank you, Mr. Newman. But we don't have anything in Cleveland anymore. We started up there in Ohio, and we severed ties with Ohio in the 1950s. I guess we got tired of being Indians fans, or as they're called now, the Guardians. You know, we'd rather be Rays fans. And to that end, we had a cigar bar where the Rays played baseball for like 20 years, and we were the Rays' original sponsors along with Tropicana orange juice. But 1954 is when the company moved. We moved from Cleveland to Tampa, bought this building, and we're still making the same brands with the same machinery and the same equipment. The only difference is that cigars are no longer 5 cents, and our employees don't dress up like Lucy and Ethel from I Love Lucy. And of course, nothing's made with Cuban tobacco anymore in Tampa, but it's still Cuban seed. You know, they throw out this nomenclature in the cigar industry like Corojo 2012, Habano 2010, Criollo 1998. These are hybrid seeds created by the University of Havana at different points in history. And what do we do as American cigar manufacturers? We steal those seeds and we take them to Central America and we grow them in like Nicaragua or Ecuador or somewhere else, and then we import as much tobacco as we want. So that's how the industry stays the same despite all the other changes, you know, and that's how you still get great cigars made out of Cuban tobacco. And as far as anything that our company makes, like a Diamond Crown or a Perla Del Mar, that's an imported handmade cigar, those are being brought to this country from other factories. So our company, we operate a cigar factory in Nicaragua called Pinza, and then the Fuentes, obviously, their main factory is Tabacalera A Fuente down there in the Dominican Republic, which makes millions and millions of cigars a year. So we're partnered up with Fuentes. We do all their sales and distribution for the United States, and in exchange, the Fuentes make a ton of cigars for us. But the Fuentes were not in Nicaragua when we were trying to move into Nicaragua, because unfortunately, the Fuentes cigar factory in Nicaragua got burned down by the Sandinistas in 1979, and they never went back until this year. They broke ground in February, I believe, to build their factory there. So we have our own factory there. And together, between those two facilities, we're probably importing like upwards of 40 million cigars a year. So we're not quite making 700 million cigars a year in the city anymore, but we're still importing, manufacturing, distributing tens of millions, and I say that's good enough. So we'll go see that, part of that at least, because coming here is a lot more convenient than going to Nicaragua. You don't need a passport, you don't need to hire armed security, and you can just go down the stairs instead of getting on an American Airlines flight for 18 hours. So come on, let's go down the stairs here to our basement and check out all the cool stuff downstairs. Watch your step, please. The chemicals, very nostalgic. The story behind those is we used to make a brand of cigars and a brand of pipe tobacco called Nico-San and Sano, and they were nicotine-free tobaccos. And I guess J.C. Newman figured that if they were nicotine-free, you could smoke 25 cigars a day, and you'd sell and move a lot of cigars, especially during the 1950s. Everybody was smoking cigarettes. You know, you smoked tons and tons of cigarettes. Unfortunately, the brand never took off, but we still have all the equipment left over. So if we want to make Nico-San, we can bring that brand back. I don't think we will. Instead, it's going to be resigned to the archives like the rest of our old boxes and brands and memorabilia. So come here, check this out. This really is neat. We redid this recently. We got all sorts of stuff. There's an old picture of J.C. Newman when he still had hair. I think he kind of looks like Drew a little bit. Here's another picture of JC. It's funny, you know, Tampa's a very close-knit community. The Fuentes, you know, Cynthia Fuente, when she goes to cigar bars, she knows everybody there because everybody who's been in Tampa for a few years, you know, they have family that's been here longer. And point of fact, there is an old guy here I was with the other day named E.J. Salcinas. He was a federal judge for like 25 years. He pointed at this random black and white picture of the Cuesta factory. He's like, oh yeah, that's Willie Garcia's grandfather. So that's a testament to how close-knit the community is. Spaniards, Cubans, Italians, and a few Jews mixed in were what constituted the Tampa cigar industry. And it was more than just cigars, it was family, which is why the Fuentes are so big into saying that, we are Fuente, we are family, you know. Of course, there were some darker elements too. Tampa also had its own Italian mafia. And there's a lot of books and movies that glamorize that and make it seem much more lionized than it is. Nevertheless, we did have some criminal activity in the cigar factory throughout our lifetime of operations here. There were two big crime families, the Traficantes and the Capitanos, and they would rob these cigar factories. So in the event that anybody ever threatened us or might have robbed the cigar factory, we have an old butler staircase that goes from the offices down to the basement. And Stanford Newman has a little trap door at the top. So if he or his father ever needed to get out of the building, they'd press a little panic button, the trap door would pop up, and come down the stairs to the basement. So you can see it still goes down here. Unfortunately for the mafiosos, we have direct deposit now, so you can't really rob our payroll or steal from our company vault. But it's still there and it's still neat, so take a look at that. You'll also notice there's no live product in this room, or at least there isn't anymore. If there's any live product, any old cigars that have some significance to them, whether they're 100 years old or whether they're the only diamond crowns we ever made that year, we don't keep it in this room anymore. We keep it in a climate-controlled cigar vault that we'll go check out in a minute. But I do love the old Cuesta boxes. A lot to admire. And there's my girlfriend down here, Cuesta Sally. Because we bought that building across the street, the Sanchez and Haya building. Yeah. And the Sanchez and Haya building, we're going to tell the story of Sanchez and Haya Cigar Company and of all the businesses that were here in the community alongside our cigar factory. So we're going to have like a little mini museum over there. So we got a lot of stuff. You know, besides the 127 years of company history that J.C. Newman has built up, we also have old stuff from Thompson Cigar Company and Arturo Fuente and Hava Tampa and Garcia and Vega. Like I said, we're the last man at the table, so we get all the chips. We've ended up being the repository for everybody else's history as well. And we want to show that off because as the last cigar factory, we're the ambassadors for that great industry of yesteryear. And if we don't do it, nobody else will, right? This is the cigar vault. And I know for a fact that if you've been here before, most of you have not seen this before, so that's why this is neat. Drew and I were down here working like fiends, sweating in the basement, getting this all put together so people can come here and enjoy it, just in time for the Cigar Heritage Festival. So like I said, we've been around for 127 years. We've made tons of brands, dozens and dozens of cigar brands. Sometimes we discontinue them and bring them back with new packaging. Point is, though, if it's special, if it's significant, we keep it down here in our cigar vault until Kingdom Come. What do we do with these cigars? I don't know. I imagine at some point the Newmans will come down here and smoke them. Or, you know, maybe we'll auction them off because the Fuentes have a charity foundation they run in the Dominican Republic. And if we auction off a box of these cigars, it would go for thousands of dollars, all of which would be put to good use for that, that Heritage Foundation, that Cigar Family Heritage Charitable Foundation down there. But yeah, there's some neat items in here. These are actually the oldest cigars in the factory. It's a box of Cuesta Ponce de Leon Perfectos from about 1901. A little bit of beetle damage, but it's okay. I put them in the freezer. So those are the oldest ones. This is a traveling salesman's case. Same product, 1906. Wow. So these are also pretty ancient. Still smokable, I would imagine. They probably wouldn't taste like anything, though. You know, like that bale of Cuban tobacco there in the center of the room, that's pretty much the last legal Cuban tobacco left in America. And you could legally make Cuban cigars out of it if you wanted to, as filler tobacco, I would imagine. But it's 64 years old, so it's probably pretty stale and bland. Doesn't taste the same as it once did back in 1958. Nevertheless, it's neat. And there's some other neat things in here. We used to do a lot of private label cigars for people. And you'll notice in this private label sampler over here, there's a Walt Disney World cigar. There used to be legal cigars sold and legal cigars smoked on Disney's campuses. But I believe now the only legal cigar smoking place in Disney is Sosa Cigars in Disney Springs. But yeah, you used to be able to buy cigars on Main Street, you know, just walk around Disney World smoking a cigar. That was also when America was landing on the moon. So now we don't go to the moon anymore, and there's no outdoor, indoor smoking. You know, do the math, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, you can see all the way to today. There's some other neat things in here. If you like Diamond Crown, which I'm sure you do because most of you are smoking a Diamond Crown number 2, this is the first batch of Diamond Crowns ever made, and back in 1995. This is for the company's 100th anniversary. So there you go.
That's amazing.
And that's why I point out the white band. We stopped using the white band several years ago. I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. So those number 2s you're smoking have some nice age or patina on them, you know what I mean? We also have almost every toast pack. I think we're missing a few. But those are the toast packs for the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation. Toast packs are just, you know, little coffins. You got two cigars in there, one Fuente, one Newman. Not typically commercially available, and that's what makes people buy them. And all the money goes towards those kids down in the Dominican Republic.
How old are those again?
Those ones, the Diamond Crowns? 1995.
1995.
Oh yeah. There's some cigars in here from when Stanford's 90th anniversary cigars. Stanford's Memorial Cigars. These are Diamond Crown Cameroons. It's neat. Oh, that's when the Rays went to were American League champs in 2008.
That's pretty cool.
Some of these cigars in here aren't even out yet. Like these ones are the Angel Cuesta. And unless you went to PCA, you will have never seen these cigars before. It's a mock-up box we did for the newest handmade cigar out of Tampa, the Angel Cuesta. So we're making them in 3 sizes, a Toro, a Double Robusto, and a Salomon Figurado. And they're gorgeous, you know. They're probably going to be a box of 20 when they hit the local retailers, but this is just a prototype box. So newest cigar. And as far as when they're coming out, it should be around Christmas time. We're packing them right now upstairs, so we'll go see that. But they'll be shipping in the next few weeks, and then you'll be able to buy them at local retailers, I would imagine. So there you go, the new Angel Cuesta. Where's the, oh yeah, we got this guy named Mark Rosenthal who's buddies with Bobby, and he sends us people like every week who are like IDF, Israeli Defense Force people, because they want to like do something when they're waiting around in MacDill, I guess. And they always come down here and look at these cigars. These are special cigars we made for our importers. It's 70th anniversary cigars for the state of Israel. So the Jews love those. We are a Zionist cigar company, I guess. Anyways, nothing in here will be sold or smoked. It will just sit here until the Newmans decide what to do with it. But it is cool to look at. There's like a really easy formula we use for auditing purposes whenever the Tobacco Tax Bureau comes in. And basically we operate on the idea that 50 pounds of tobacco makes about 1,000 cigars. So you have different types. You got wrapper, binder, and filler, but just generally speaking, 50 pounds makes 1,000 cigars. So that'll probably make like 2,000 cigars if you just only made cigars out of it, and if every leaf was good for a cigar, you know. So
fresh that would weigh 100 pounds?
Yeah, probably maybe like 120. So, but the cigars that will actually be sold are in the aging room right here. So these cigars are sitting here with a purpose, and that purpose is to be sold to retailers who will sell it to you, the consumer.
This is cool to see this here, not in Dominican or Nicaragua.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so with Tampa, since the 1950s, most of the cigars made in America have been machine made. You know, not many people make handmade unless it's like a little tiny mom and pop shop like they have down in Miami or Union City, New Jersey, or in Tampa, Florida. So it's cool to see a traditional handmade aging room, excuse me, like what we have down here. Anything in a red wrap is the Angel Cuesta. Anything in a black wrap is the American. And for those of you who do not know, the American is one of our Tampa handmade brands. It's only made with U.S. domestically grown tobacco. So the wrapper's from Claremont, Florida. That's where you're going today. That's Jeff Borschowitz's wrapper. The binder's Connecticut Broadleaf from South Windsor, Connecticut. And the filler's Pennsylvania and Connecticut tobacco. And all that Pennsylvania tobacco is grown in Lancaster. So we buy it from small family-owned farms. Probably the largest farm is like 18 or 19 acres. You know, it's really not a lot of land they're growing on. As a result, these tobaccos are very unique, very rare, and very premium. And we make one of the nicest cigars in the industry, all out of U.S. tobacco. And then the Angel Cuesta, the blend for that is going to be Ecuador Habano wrapper, the binder's Cameroon, and the filler's Nicaraguan. So it's a very unique kind of nutty, sweet, with a little bit of peppery kick. So both cigars are great, and both cigars will be down here for about a year until we box it up and sell it to the consumer or to the retailers, and then they'll sell it to you, the people. In this factory, we probably make around 60,000 cigars a day, and we need wrapper tobacco for every single one of those 60,000 cigars. That's going to be processed in the next department, which is the casing room. So come on. Buenos dias, Jaime. Broadleaf, so it smells like it smells like wet gutters right now. But once it dries, it will be a lot sweeter and mellower. So obviously, everybody has a type of wrapper they prefer. Some people like Maduro, some people like Shade, some people like Cameroon. I don't think anybody likes Candela anymore, but sometimes you'll see Candela, like Alec Bradley does the Filthy Hooligan, or the Fuente does the 858 Extra Claro. You see those occasionally, but there's different types of wrapper for different types of cigars, and we do just about all of them down here in our basement. This is going to be our broadleaf Maduro, and it's not actually a Connecticut broadleaf, it's a Pennsylvania broadleaf. So this is Pennsylvania tobacco. It's a shame because the world's biggest buyer of Pennsylvania and Connecticut broadleaf is Backwoods. They use it for all the backwoods, which is so disappointing. But anyways, I love broadleaf tobacco. It tastes great. It's kind of like a rich, earthy, they call it that sweet earth, you know? So that's our sweet earth. It'll be down here for 3 or 4 weeks before we use it for cigars. And it's basically just ripening and getting sweeter, as long as it's in this cart. So that's our Maduro. We got some natural wrapper down here that Jaime's working with. So hold on. So this is all Oliva Tobacco, not Oliva Cigar Company, Oliva Tobacco Company. So they've been our primary growers for, I don't know, 80 years now. Since the 1940s, that's when they sat down and had a meeting with the Newmans. We love their tobacco, and most of it's now grown in Ecuador and Nicaragua. So we buy it and use it for our cigars here. And there you go. There's some of that Oliva Ecuadorian Habano seed tobacco. Yeah, actually, fun fact, this is from the same crop as the wrapper, the Brickhouse Natural and the Havana Q. So if you like those two cigars, that's the wrapper we're using here. It's just that based off how it's graded and sorted and selected, if it's less than pretty, if it's not as beautiful as the handmade wrappers, we use it on the $1 cigars upstairs, like the factory throwouts. So this is all going to be factory throwout wrapper pretty much. And as a result, Jaime used a lot of it. Jaime probably prepares like 200 pounds or 300 pounds of wrapper tobacco a day. And all that will be sent upstairs and used to make cigars. So he's just going to be rehydrating it with that distilled water. And the distilled water is just enough to get it wet. If we try to roll a cigar out of that dry tobacco, it would be too fragile. It'd fall apart, right? But the wet tobacco is way more silky and elastic, and you can actually stretch that and make a cigar out of it. And let me show you by grabbing a sample out of these carts down here. Here, pass that around, boss man. I always forget the phrase, but in Spanish they say something along the lines like, tengo que darle mucho nariz. You got to give it a lot of nose. If you want to really enjoy the tobacco, you got to stick your nose in it. So don't be shy, but just feel the texture too. Feel how much softer it is. It's silky, it's elastic. It's almost like cloth. And that's when you get to the point where you can stretch it and roll it onto a cigar, you know?
Like a light leather cloth or something.
Exactly. Yeah, tobacco can always bounce back, but whenever it dries out and gets wet again, dries out and gets wet again, it changes the flavor slightly. So we try to keep it so once it gets wet, it stays wet, and we're going to keep it wet till we make a cigar out of it.
I was about to say, it's like, it never truly dries out completely during the whole fermentation or...
It's kind of like nature's hygrometer, actually. If you ever wanted to know what the humidity was like in your humidor, you don't need a hygrometer, just put a tobacco leaf in there. And if it starts crumbling on you, you know it's too dry.
Right.
So it'll sit in these carts, and then we'll take it upstairs and we'll use it. We're going to strip it first. Drew doesn't like me calling them strippers. They're destimmers, right? But they're tobacco leaf destimmers. And they're going to be working with that tobacco upstairs, destimming it. So we'll go see them in a bit, and then we'll see the cigars being made.
Is that a bundle of wrapper leaf as well?
That?
Yeah.
That's all wrapper leaf. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we call a hand of tobacco. And a hand, they say the perfect hand's about 36 leaves. So, but it can be anywhere from 20 to 40. Thank you. So again, wrapper tobacco. So come with me, I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we'll go up and see the machines making the machine-made cigars. In this room, we have bales and bales of tobacco, and it's funny, when you think about tobacco, you think about the traditional like burlap sacks, right? But nowadays it comes like muslin and cardboard, and there is a couple burlap sacks down there. Right, but these are the whole bales of tobacco, and they're anywhere from 80 to 150 pounds. So it's tobacco leaf. This is how it comes in. We buy the tobacco bales from the farmers, they ship it to us dry, and when we're ready to use it, we get it wet again. Of course, if it's binder and filler typically stays dry, and you'll notice that upstairs when we go see the hand rollers. When they bunch the tobacco and put it inside the molds, it's a bunch of dried up leaves still. The only really wet part's the wrapper leaf, which is why it's so critical we get it right, because the wrapper is most of your flavor. Yeah. You'll notice on all these bales it says, somewhere it'll say Rich. Rich is our master blender for the factory. If you ever meet the guy, he's a little bit crazy, but he's very smart with tobacco. And he's the guy who blends all of our cigars for the factory. He blended the Julius Caesar. He helped blend the Maximus. Yeah, well, in the Dominican is where all the tobacco is, where all the manufacturing is done, but that's his baby, you know what I mean? And he helped blend the American and the Angel Cuesta, so he's in charge of all this tobacco here. And you'll get to meet him if you ever come back here and do a cigar blending class, because on the starting summer of 2023, I believe, we're going to start offering blending class where you can come here, come down to this room, and use it as your pantry to kind of pick and choose tobaccos and make your own cigar. So that's coming around the corner. That's a new experience we're offering. But for now, just admire our tobacco, and then we'll go upstairs and see the production floor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is American domestic production. Everything made up here is a machine-made, short filler, value bundle cigar. So if you've ever seen a Decision or a Rigoletto Palma Grande or a factory throwout or a factory first or whatever, it's going to be made behind us on these machines. Each machine is going to be taking short filler tobacco as its filler. It's going to be taking homogenized tobacco leaf binder as its binder, and it's going to be taking that actual natural leaf Ecuadorian Habano wrapper we just saw in the basement as wrapper, and combining them into a handmade or machine-made cigar. But yeah, to that end, these cigars anatomically, they're identical to a handmade cigar. It's just they're made on a machine with less expensive tobacco. So they're great cigars. They're good everyday smokes, $1 cigars. They're your yard cigars. They're your dog walking cigars. But as long as you have that expectation, these are some of the best cigars in the world for dog walking cigars, you know? And these machines are very cool as well. All the machines up here were built in 1931, so about 90 years ago. They still work great. They still make tons of cigars. In fact, a lady like Noy right there at number 23, if you look at machine number 23, hi Noy! Noy can make about 4,000 or 5,000 cigars a day during her production shift. So just one machine will make about 4,000 or 5,000. That's why we still use them. So come on, let's go bother Noy some more. Now we'll go bother Angeli instead. Come on this way. Come on. Pater, Filius, Spiritus Sanctus. All right, so these are our machine-made cigars here. In the back is our short filler. On the wheel is our binder. And again, this stuff is called homogenized tobacco leaf. It's made out of tobacco, vegetable starch, and water. So it's basically reconstituted tobacco. It's tobacco paper. But that's the binder that holds it all together. You roll it up, you cut it, and you put a wrapper on top. And this is that Ecuadorian Habano we just saw in the basement. So a machine like this will make thousands and thousands of cigars every week, easily. And that is why it is so efficient. These are all going to be value bundle cigars or inexpensive box cigars, you know what I mean? Actually, this specific cigar right here, the H15 as we call it, it's going to be called a Cuesta Caravel, which is 6x36 Panatella. Really popular, good smoke, good size in my opinion, but I guess most Americans don't agree because we only make the cigar about once a month. So little petite cigars aren't made as often as the bigger cigars like the Palmas and the Lonsdales and the Churchills and double Coronas. So it really just depends on what our needs are. Because the tobacco is already aged Dominican filler tobacco, because the wrapper is always going to be in our basement, we make them to order. So let's say Tinderbox in North Carolina orders 60,000 Cuesta Caravels. We're going to turn the machine on and make that 60,000 right then and there. We're not going to have them sitting around in the basement, you know?
Are they retailer labeled when you send them out? Are they retailer labeled when you send them out?
No.
Okay.
We only do certain private labels, like for For Smoker Friendly, which is like a big Western chain of cigar shops, we do everyday smokes.
Okay.
And there's just different private labels we do for certain people. But by and large, your average cigar shop will just buy the bundles and call them factory throwouts by J.C. Newman or what have you, you know? So that's what Angelique's doing right here.
What are they doing over there with the machine over there? And then is that what turns it into the sheets there? Or
What do you mean?
what's happening over there again?
That's your filler tobacco.
That's
So the
the
machine
filler.
shakes that down. Here, I can show you.
That's the binder?
Yes, sir. Yeah, watch right here. Watch right here with the machine. So it comes down, and that's your filler right in there.
Gotcha.
See that?
Yep.
And it's going to roll that up into the binder and the filler, cut it, and then put a wrapper on top.
Are these the short fillers?
Yes, sir. Everything up here is short filler tobacco. The handmaids are all going to be long filler, and we'll see those upstairs. But this production floor is only for short filler. One more thing I didn't mention. You'll see when the machine takes the cigar and puts the wrapper tobacco on top, there's a little bit of wet substance that goes and gets dabbed on it. There's like a little sticky adhesive. That's what we call cigar glue. It's made out of cornstarch and water. So you can see right here on Noy's machine. Hi, Noy. So you got this little liquid that goes on. That's the cigar glue or the cigar gum. Doesn't really taste like anything, but it's there to make sure the wrapper stays on, because otherwise it would come off, you know? Oh, I messed up her cigar. Oh, you're out, Noy. I'm sorry. I didn't even notice. Let me go get a wheel for you. Where are they? Oh, you got one. Okay. Oh, very easy. Anyways, the reason why we use the gum, the reason why we use the cigar glue, the liquid cigar glue made out of cornstarch and water, is because in the old days, if you needed your wrapper to stick on, you lick it. You know what I mean? That's kind of nasty. We don't want to sell lick cigars to our customers. We'd rather just use the gum because it's a lot more sanitary. Nobody wants a lick cigar. But yeah, that's why the machine's so awesome. And our ladies will sit here during their production shift and make cigars for 8 or 9 hours. And if there's a maintenance problem, they can typically fix it themselves. Like right there, Noy's putting on her own binder. She's resetting her binder. But come on this way, ladies and gentlemen. I'll show you the filler barns, and then we'll go see our tobacco leaf strippers, or destimmers. Destimmers. Come on this way. Hi, Zeta. So get a chance to look at these barns right here. These barns are filled up with short filler tobacco. And if you've never seen a big pile of short filler, go admire it, because whenever I see short filler, it makes me want to jump in, you know, and start making snow angels, or tobacco angels. Ladies and gentlemen, make way, if you would, for Eduardo. He's going to come through here with his cart. Sorry about that. We are a working cigar factory. Now, short filler, we use about 2,000 pounds of this stuff a day. And why do we use so much? We're making a lot of cigars. Most of it also comes from handmade cigars already. So the reason why people use short filler at all is because it's very efficient. You already paid for that tobacco and you got taxed for it when you made the handmade cigars. It's just leftover scrap. So why wouldn't you use it? It's absolutely free. So we just chop it up, reuse it for short filler for all the machine-made cigars, and it tastes great and it burns great. And the kicker is that all that, or at least most of it, comes from Fuente cigars. So every single Fuente handmade, the scraps get recycled as short filler tobacco for our cigars. So you might have an Opus X in there, or a Diamond Crown, or a Don Carlos. It's just kind of mixed up together, so it's like a big tobacco hot dog. But as long as you have that expectation, these are fantastic cigars. And people think so too. They buy millions of them every year, and that's what keeps the lights on in Tampa. So that's our filler barn. We're going to see our tobacco leaf destimmers next. Destimmers. All of our tobacco leaf destimmers. And this is Tom. His job is to fix the machines when Anna and Diana try to break them. So he does a lot of work. He has a great job security. These machines, the reason why Tom has to work on them so often, I want to say it's because they break them, but no, it's honestly just because the machines are old. Most of these machines are from the 1910s, and the manufacturers are long gone, so we rely on ourselves and our own mechanical know-how to be able to repair and fix them. And the machines are so great and so efficient, even after 110 years, because of a simple reason. They're simple, and they're very simply used to cut the stem out of each tobacco leaf and use the wrapper for our cigar machines out there. So this is what destims the tobacco. tobacco is a lot like kale or collard greens or Swiss chard or spinach. Sometimes that center vein in the leaf, the center vein is just too thick and fibrous to use. And more so, it's for blending reasons, because there's a lot of nicotine in that vein. So when you take it out, it makes the leaf a lot smoother and milder. So we do it for a reason. We get rid of the stems, we cut them out, and then we get 2 wrappers for 2 cigars. So each leaf will make about 2 cigar wrappers, you know? And that's only after someone like Diana runs it through the machine. And you can see how the machine runs. It's got these belts that smooth it out, and they pull the leaf tight and flatten out any wrinkles or, you know, kinky edges or anything like that. Then it runs these 2 cutting blades right down the middle of the leaf, cuts the stem out, ejects it down through the bottom, no more stem, no more vein, and what you've got in the end are the 2 sides of the tobacco leaf, the left side wrapper and the right side wrapper, which will make 2 cigars each. So you'll see in a minute.
Oh, I was going to say, how many before she takes them out?
She usually does 1 hand, so it could be anywhere from 20 to 50 leaves, you know. But she got 2 more. But look at Diana's machine. Everybody look at Diana. We're going to embarrass her for a minute. But it's just because we want to see the tobacco leaf wrapper. Thank you, Diana. There you go. Easy peasy. You just got to be careful because these machines are old and the machines do not discriminate between human fingers and tobacco, so they will cut you pretty good. But yeah, if you can continue to work here with all your fingers, you have a job long term, you have long-term job security because nobody else can do this as well as you can.
That would be awesome.
So all that will go out, be used for cigar wrappers, then we'll make the cigars and process them by packaging them and put them in boxer bundles, and then we'll ship them out. So we'll go see packaging next, ladies and gentlemen. So these are all packaging machines. Once the cigars are done, we've got to package them by giving them a cigar band and a cellophane wrapper. Now with the handmade cigar, anybody still got their diamond crown in the cellophane?
Yeah.
May I see it? With a handmade cigar, you manually push the cigar into a little cellophane tube so it's got a little tail underneath, you know? And when you want to take it out, you just push it down out of the tube. Thank you, sir. With these cellophane cigars that you run through the machine will wrap a little sheet of cellophane around the outside of the cigar and melt it. So the only way you can get the cigar out of the cellophane is by ripping off the tab. So it's a different packaging process for the machine-made cigars, but it's very similar in the sense that we're using cellophane to make them safe and shelf-stable and humid before we sell them factory fresh to the consumer, you know? And so this machine right now, he's doing the It's a Boy cigars, which are always fun to look at. Here, I'm going to pass one of these around. Sorry, Davius. Here, pass that around so everybody can see it. We used to do those It's a Boy cigars, although not as often as we used to. Let's see, does this have any bands in it? It's got a few bands. I can try to run some cigars through here. This is a banding machine, so you want to, hopefully it'll give me a good one. Man, it's getting stuck there. Man, yeah, it's not doing it. It's getting stuck. Joe, fix the machine.
That's pretty neat.
And then you roll it on, it sticks, you know? So we have machines that do it, and this is just for the El Relo here, because that's a big cigar. It's an 8x52 double Corona. It won't fit into normal machines like that machine right there. So turn off the boxing machine. But yeah, all these are for packaging. They're for finishing up the machine-made cigars. And then once that process is done, we'll do a quick quality control check, and then we'll pack them and ship them off all over the world, hopefully. So you got some bundles here. You got some shrink-wrapped cigars here. These are the It's a Girl cigars. We do It's a Boy and It's a Girl. So, and all of them lined up down in packaging for final quality control. So come on this way, ladies and gentlemen. When you think about the old school cigar factory in Tampa, when you think about Arturo Fuente and Garcia and Vega and Corral Bodisca, it was a lot of Cubans in the factory making cigars, making handmade cigars. Well, that was true for the time. The immigrants coming here in the 1800s were Cubans and Spaniards and Italians. But now everybody comes to Tampa. We got all sorts of people making cigars. Nancy's Filipina, Fa and Juan Pin are Thai. And it was Juan Pin's birthday yesterday. She turned 25. Can't believe she's actually 25. BB's Dominican. Alma back there making the 99 bundles was Honduran.
Honduras, Chile, I mean not Chile.
Peru.
Peru.
Sudaca. So they're all hard at work making bundles. And this is the final check, right? The cigars here are machine made. They're packaged And the machine's done all the heavy lifting up until now. So now it's up to our ladies, our quality control ladies, to double check them, make sure they look good, and then put them into bundles and bags and sell them out to our customers, right? So Juan Pin there, she's been doing this for years and years. And you know that every single cigar she makes is going to, well, every single bundle that she makes will be of good quality, and the cigars will be packed with love. That's why it's a good Juan Pin cigar. If there's any bad ones, she takes them out of the line, and they get destroyed, smashed up, chopped up in a more short filler. So that's how we recycle bad cigars up here. It's probably like 6% of every week's production that we recycle as more short filler, but then it just goes back in. Yeah, it's not that many. It's mainly just because they didn't put the binder on, and the binder doesn't go there, and so it's just a bunch of loose short filler. It's pretty easily fixable things, like diagnostic fix. But our ladies, they're hard at work, and once they're done, some people smoke these cigars pretty quickly. It's a pretty fast turnover. You know, they'll go down to shipping and be gone within a day or two, sometimes. Right now, it's the holiday season, so they're gearing up to do a lot of work. And all those cigars in the hallway are cigars they have to package today. So they're kind of in the weeds, but God bless them, you know? Rhonda right there. Rhonda's got the Trader Jack's. Hi, Rhonda. So Rhonda's packaging it a little bit different because she's not making bundles. She's putting the cigars into a bag. And they get a vanilla bourbon flavoring. So her cigars are sweet. If you like sweet flavored cigars, you smoke Rhonda's Trader Jack's. Otherwise, you smoke Factory Throwout. Or if you want a really nice handmade cigar, you smoke the American, which we're about to go see upstairs. But price point, tobacco, it's important. But at the end of the day, what we care about are the cigars that sell and the cigars that don't sell, you know, because that's what keeps the lights on in Tampa. It's what keeps us all employed. So that's what our ladies are focused on. But come with me and I'll show you our Cubans upstairs and what they're focused on, which is handmade cigars. Okay. All right, this is Gene. He's our third floor production manager. He's in charge of all the cigars and all the spreadsheets, making them look good and making sure that when we sell cigars to people, that we actually have the cigars we are claiming to sell them. You know what I mean? So his job is very important. He also gets to smoke a lot of fun cigars up here. So he's got a Opus X 20th anniversary, just sitting at the band, just sitting in an ashtray, you know. Anyways, he's also in charge of the two cigar brands being made up here, which is the Angel Cuesta and the American. So come in front, and we'll go bother Yinny and Angel for a minute. Angel is one of our cigar makers making the Angel Cuesta, and he's making this giant Grand Salaman, which is 7 1/4 by 57. It's very tricky to make, though, because he's got to do this giant cigar, and in addition to the Salaman shape that he's got to make, which is difficult to roll, he's got to do it with a shaggy foot and a pigtail, so it is not easy. He'll make about 60 cigars a day.
What's the shape called?
Stacey Newman's first Solomon?
No, I want to say no, because I'm sure that when we made cigars back in the 20s and 30s, like the Sarzetas, they were probably Salaman. But this is our first modern, commercially available Salaman, I would say. So. And the Fuentes make stuff like Diamond Crown Salamans that are not commercially available. And the number 6 Figurado Diamond Crown, that looks more like a Salaman than like a traditional like Perfecto or anything like that. So if I think about it, no. But it is a very cool shape, and this is the biggest Salaman we've ever made, certainly.
What did they decide to name it?
Why did they decide to name it Angel Cuesta?
What did they decide to name it?
This cigar?
Yeah,
Angel Cuesta.
Angel Cuesta.
Yeah, so for Tampa, that's a significant name because there was a big cigar manufacturer back in the day named Angel Cuesta. Guy came here from Spain. He was a big cigar manufacturer, but he's also a huge philanthropist. He loved the people here, and he's like, well, you know, the best way to give my people a future is by building schools and hospitals for them. So he built a lot of the infrastructure for West Tampa back when Tampa was like nothing, you know what I mean? Tampa was like alligators and swamps, and he built all these schools for the kids to go to. So there's a really big elementary school down in West Tampa called Angel Quest Elementary, and because he was such a big philanthropist, people called him, you know, their little angel with a big heart. So that's why we named the cigar the Angel Cuesta. And the reason why it has a little pigtail on the back is because it's kind of like a little angel's halo, you know what I mean? So it's a cool cigar, and he's also the guy who started Cuesta Rey Cigar Company, which is one of our biggest brands, Cuesta Rey. So we owe the guy a debt, and we're trying to pay it back by making the cigar in his honor. And it's more of a happy accident that this guy's name is Angel, but Angel Delgado is making the Angel Cuesta. So.
The honor's all yours.
Yeah, they are kind of like Angel cigars. Let me grab one of those top sheets, because the top sheets for these cigars are really cool. They're, here. There you go. There you got his Excellency, Angel Cuesta. And this is certainly Drew Newman's brainchild. I mean, Drew's the guy who wanted to bring back hand rolling to Tampa at all. He first wanted to make an American handmade cigar because everybody said it couldn't be done, and he decided to prove them wrong by making it all of American tobacco and all out of American materials, even the wood's made in America. I mean, made in America. The wood's grown in America. The box is made in America. And then the Angel Quest is just a follow-up to that. It's an extension of what we're doing here as far as a Tampa handmade facility. So this is the second commercially available brand. We also did these little like throwback Lonsdale cigars, the Quest 95s. It's like a little 5-pack. Those are only sold in the factory store downstairs. So that's not like commercially available like these will be, or like the American. But those are all our 3 American Tampa handmade brands. The Angel Cuesta, the Quest 95, and the American. So Yinny and Louise are usually in front doing the American. They're on break right now. So is Yamale. She's usually back here doing the Angel Cuesta. So it's just Angel we get to look at, but he's doing his wrappers and caps.
Now you have an American that's only available here, correct? Right?
The Presidentes, yeah, those are out of stock right now. We're having a hard time. See, I'm sure Jeff will get into this more at the farm, but the genetics of the American wrapper, it's a Corojo leaf, you know. So the Corojo, the reason why it almost went extinct in Cuba in the 1940s is Corojo is so small, it's like very hard to make a profit out of it, and especially for those Cuban farmers, people would buy it by the pound, you know, so you could definitely grow a lot more Habano per acre than you can Corojo. So that's why people stopped growing Corojo, and I think pretty much only the Aroas were the ones who saved that variety, and they brought it to Central America, to Honduras, to grow it instead. So we get, I believe all modern Corojos are from the Aroa Corojo they saved from Cuba. But it's the Corojo seed, it just got small genetics, so it's very hard to make anything bigger than a Toro, you know. Anything that's a bigger length than a Toro, it's just the leaf genetics are not there. So Churchills, we just don't have a lot of Churchills or Torpedoes or anything like that for the American. But yeah, normally we have that as a factory store exclusive, the American Presidente, which is a Churchill in a crystal glass tube. Over here is our packaging. This is Yaliette and Gladys. There are 2 packing ladies, and they're making the boxes of Angel Cuesta, and Jean's inspecting them. But you can see the Angel Cuesta, when it's finished, beautiful box. It's a box of 20 cigars with that little top sheet I just showed you. And then you put the sticker on the outside. And these stickers are really cool too, wherever they are. There they are. We found an old Quest Array box that had this sticker label on it, Cigar Manufacturers Association of Tampa, and our in-house graphic designer recreated it. So it's like a throwback sticker we're putting on all these cigar boxes. So nice. It almost looks like the Knights of Columbus or something like that. Don't tell J.C. Newman. I'm pretty sure he was a Freemason. Anyways, it's just neat, you know. It's all part of the process here. We're still color sorting them. We're still banding them and packaging them and making these great boxes of cigars, just like we were 100 years ago. So the only difference is that nowadays we don't have the guy who read the newspaper. We listen to like Spotify podcasts through our AirPods, you know. So, but other than that, still making great handmade cigars.
Do these booklets come with the cigar as well?
Yeah, every single American box comes with a story booklet.
It's very nice.
Yeah, here's a box of the Americans, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen one of these.
Oh yeah, I like it a lot. That has to be one of my favorite smokes, actually.
Oh yeah, I love the American. Yeah, talking about a great cigar.
Yeah.
But yeah, the box is made in Miami. But yeah, it's a small operation here. We only have about 4 rollers making 100 cigars a day each, 60 an Angel's case. So we're not making a ton of cigars up here. Everything's very boutique and limited, but we'll keep it that way because it's unique, you know. We don't make a ton of boutique cigars at J.C. Newman. We do a lot of Brick House, we do a lot of Diamond Crown, but there's nothing that's super boutique like the Angel Quest and the American in our portfolio. So,
you guys work with long fillers here at all?
yeah, all their tobacco they're using is long filler.
I figured.
So everything that's the American, the Angel Quest, is going to be a long filler, handmade, aged, blended cigar. So we'll do this for the foreseeable future, which means Gene and Angel and Yaliet, they'll have pretty good job security. So.
Is that stage where the guy that would read the newspaper and get the name of them? Is that where they would be reading the newspaper?
Right. The lectors would have read off that stage, but they got banned for reading controversial political propaganda in the 1930s. So now it is just an empty stage. But if you want to get married here, you can rent this place out as a wedding venue, and that's your wedding altar right there. So, yeah, it's funny. A lot of people want to get married here. It's, I guess, if you're like Cuban or you're a big cigar guy, it makes sense.
Really?
Oh. Let me see. Here are the bunches for the American, by the way.
Really, congrats, man. It's a beautiful factory, man. I couldn't pick. many places like
So that's the binder and the filler. This does not have a wrapper yet, but Louise and Yenny will put a wrap on these Americans later on today. Since we're all in town here for the Cigar Heritage Festival, I'll take a little minute to plug the Cigar Heritage part, right? Way back in 1885, like I said, Tampa was nothing. We had swamps and alligators and scary-looking phosphate mines and gunfights at the OK Corral. You know, there wasn't really anything going on here. But this gentleman named Vicente Martinez Ybor and his business rivals, believe it or not, Serafin Sanchez and Ignacio Haya, they came here and built the first cigar factories. They also built houses for their cigar makers to live in because they decided they were going to bring a cigar industry to Tampa, Florida because of the port and because of all the trains going to Tampa. So they built it, and then like all great men, Mr. Ybor named the city after himself, and everybody else followed suit. And pretty soon, Tampa had over 300 cigar factories here. So some of the best cigars in the world were being made here, like I said. Unfortunately for Mr. Ybor, he died a long time ago, and his cigar factory building's owned by the Church of Scientology, so they don't make cigars there anymore. But without him, we wouldn't be here. Tampa wouldn't exist without cigars and his cigar industry. So we're grateful to him and to everybody else that came before. You know, Mr. Stanford Newman and Mr. Carlos Fuentes Sr. Without those guys, I wouldn't have a job.